Okay, so hopefully this video today is going to be a fairly easy one, actually. So what we're going to do right now is we're going to make the target frame. So we have our player frame, which is great. I think it looks pretty good, actually. So let's go make a target frame. And the way I'm going to do that is I'm going to open up WeChorus. And I could create the whole thing over again, but I'd like something, I would like something that looks the way this one currently does. But what I'm going to do instead of recreating everything over again, I'm going to right click on my basic player frame. I'm going to go duplicate. And then I'm just going to call this one basic target frame. Now, right now, there is no difference between this and the player frame. So I'm going to, right now, if you notice, I've got this one selected, this group selected, so I'm going to move it over. So currently what I have is I have two player frames. Probably not what I want. So let's think about, so we have to make, obviously, we want to make some changes. And a lot of these changes are going to be pretty quick and easy to make. So let's open up our WeChorus and maybe let's start with some basic stuff. Let's make, what do we got here? Let's start with some things that we need to change. So the player portrait, let's start with the player portrait. So I'm going to rename this instead of basic player portrait. I'll call it basic target portrait. And let's think about when I want this to show. So I want this to show when I want this to trigger, right? I want this to show when I'm targeting another player. So in other words, I'm going to go to my triggers, and from here, so before what I did is I had this thing always showing, right? Because it was my health, but it was my bar. So instead, what I'm going to do is I'm going to stick to status, but I'm going to go, so trigger status, instead of conditions, I'm going to go to unit characteristics. And this unit characteristic is going to be the target. And then under display, right, where I says show model of unit instead of it being player, is going to be target. Okay. So let's see what we got so far. So notice right now what I have is I accidentally targeted myself. So that's why you can see me. But I go click on that player over there. I'm now on that paladin. So the portrait is changing based on who I am clicking. So that's nice. That's working properly. Right? There we go. So that looks good. What else do we want to do? Maybe, since we're on there, why don't we move that portrait over to the other side of this bar, right? I don't like it where it currently is, so I'm going to move it over here. Let's see what that looks like. Looks fine. I'm not going to say necessarily looks great, but it looks fine. It'd be nice if she was looking the other direction, but that's on her. Okay, let's go and do the other thing. So we've got the portrait, we got the portrait working out. Let's go to the player power. So obviously instead of it being the player power, I'm going to make it the target power. And you can pretty much guess what I'm going to do here. It should be pretty straightforward. So I'm going to go to triggers. And instead of it being the status power of the player, it's going to be the status power of the target. Other than that, that's probably good to go. I don't think there's much there to see. Let's just double check. No, I don't think there's anything there to see. Okay, let's go. Let's continue going. Let's go to the basic player health and turn that into a basic target health. So I'm going to turn that into target. And instead of it being health, instead of health 2 be health. And same idea. So when we want this to trigger, so our trigger is going to be under status health of the target. There we go. This is one of those situations now. In this case, we, as you remember, we have for conditions, we have these different conditions where it changes color. So it'd be really nice if there was some other, I would have to look for a Warlock, Death Knight, or Druid unless I want to add some people here. Oh, what is that? That's a Paladin? Maybe I would like to add a Paladin, but not for now, I won't. So let's see what we got. That takes care of that. So that's looking good so far. Now, as you notice, what have we taken care of so far? We have taken care of the power bar. We've taken care of the player portrait. Obviously, the name and things like that need to change, so let's keep on going here. So let's change the player name. So in terms of, so I'm going to go back to my triggers. For my triggers, my unit characteristic is going to be target. And I'm going to hit, what do we got? I think that's about it on that one. Let's change that name though. So it's basic player name, so I'm going to call it basic target name. Looks good. Let's keep on going. Since we're kind of busting through this, let's keep it going. So basic player power text. I'm going to change that basic player power text. I'm going to rename that. I'm going to rename that to target power. Target power. There we go. And obviously, I'm going to go to triggers again, and it's going to go to target. Okay, looks good. What else do we have? Oh, the player health text. So I'm going to change that to basic target health text. So that's target. And we want to change that trigger from being the health of the player to the health of the target. Okay, that's done. And then finally, I'm going to go to my basic player background. Now this one, again, this is one of those triggers I had triggering at all times, but I don't want to trigger at all times, right? If I don't have a target, I don't want to be triggered. So I'm going to go to trigger. So under triggers, I'm going to go to trigger 1, status. I'm going to go down here to unit characteristics, and I want this to only occur when I have the target. I only want that background to show when I have a target. So let's see where we are. Okay, so you can see there's a little bit of a mess here, and we're going to talk about that mess a little bit, but this is what we have so far. So for example, I have this player targeted, we can see. I don't know. So he's a paladin. He noticed that the colors aren't changing right now because I don't have the color set to charge. Let's maybe put that paladin in. Let's see if we can get that background to change when there's a paladin. So I'm on my basic target health. I'm going to go to conditions. I'm going to add a condition where if I have a paladin, just because I've already got here. So I'm going to go to trigger 1, class. If that class equals a paladin, we're going to make the bar color pink. Pink. How about something like that? Okay, so notice right here, I guess that's a paladin too, huh? These are all paladins. Is that really a paladin? Yeah, that's a paladin. If I want to click on, let's see, I click on this person. He is, what is he? I don't know what he is. It looks like he's a paladin. Maybe not. No, actually, I can't tell what that person is. That's definitely a paladin. Let's see if I can find somebody who's not a paladin. What is that person? That is a priest. Okay, so when I go back to that priest, it goes back to purple. Again, we haven't changed it yet. Okay, so this is actually, so we have a working, if you notice, I've got my name, I've got my hit points, I've got everything going on here. So the couple things that we might want to do at this point, because we do actually have a nice, it's not great, obviously, it's not perfect, but we have a working player bar, we have a working target bar. Maybe we'd like to interact with them. So there is an add-on, and it's called OUF. So if you look at my chat, OUF, I don't know if this next part's capitalized or not, Lybrial, and I'll leave a link to, well, it's in curse, so I'll leave its name in the description of this video. What that does is it allows you to have invisible player frames. So what's nice about that is currently, right, these player frames and target frames are completely non-interactable, which is not what I'd like. I'd like to be able to right click on them and stuff like that. So I've already installed that add-on. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to type in /LMF, and you can see right here. So these are I have a player bar. The screen right here is a player bar. I have a target. I have pet. I have all these different pieces. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my player frame, and let's open up our weak auras. Let's take our player frame, and I'm going to drag it over here so that now when I interact with it, right, when I click on it, when I click over here, it will basically be it'll be interacting with that player frame, and I'm going to take the target frame and I'm going to move it over here. Now you can resize that. I'm not resizing it because it is set for I don't think there's profiles or anything like that, so it's basically set for my current UI, and I don't want to be sitting there and kind of messing with that. So my current UI, which is again weak auras, I don't want to mess with that. So let's just kind of make sure everything is kind of working here. So you can resize it to fit yours. I'm not going to resize it to fit mine because again, it would mess up my current UI. So let's get out of there. And I'm going to type LMF again, /LMF. They're gone, but now look what happens. I can right click on it and I've got a menu there. So I click on this person, on that warlock, and it shows his name. I can click on myself. Now I show my name. So now I have interactable bars, which is kind of nice. Actually, you know what I'm looking at? Looks like that portrait needs to be, the target portrait needs to go down a little bit. So I'm going to lower that. So where is that player target? And from here, I'm going to kind of stop right here. Now, before I stop, because I say I'm going to stop, but before I do, let's see how that looks. Let's go down one more. Okay, that should be fine. So I want you to notice a couple issues that we're having that have started to creep up. So one is, when I click on this target dummy, notice how long the name is, right? It's really long, and it's going outside of my player bar. So one of the things I'm going to want to do later on is I'm going to want to start introducing some custom code into this. And one of the things that I'm going to do is I'm going to set it so that I keep the names down to like maybe no more than, I don't know, 7, 8 letters. That would be kind of nice. That way I don't have this situation right here where I have this really long name kind of running off. So in the next video, we're going to start looking at maybe some custom code to start kind of making this thing work a little bit better in terms of how we want to. Again, we do have something that works. This does work just fine, but like I said, there's some nice custom code things that we can do to make this look a little bit better. And that we'll start introducing a little bit of that custom code in the next video. See you then.